Hey, what's up, beautiful people? It's another episode of My Favorite Horror Movie. We have a couple of new guests on the show, as we do every week with this show, and we have a awesome episode in store for you guys. Another movie that is near and dear to our guests' hearts, and that is Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie. And the guests in question are not that bad. That's Connor and Gabe. They've been supporters of the show. Connor has been here every step of the way, so it is a great moment to bring them on to talk about this movie. And as we said before we started, on the day that the Monsters comes out, so it's a whole Rob Zombie day, and the new Halloween trailer too. So it's we're in spooky season. Let's go ahead and we're gonna get the show started. All right, Connor and Gabe, thank you for coming on the show, guys. We're really excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having us, man. This is great.
Bless up. That's all I got.
Cheers for you guys.
Cherry Pepsi. That's what I came here to see. I came
You
here
need
for
to put
cherry
that-
Pepsis and hot takes.
He needs to put it in a chalice. We got to get Gabe a chalice, something to put the Pepsis in every week. Maybe we'll try to get you the Kentucky Fried Chicken Pepsi that they have in Japan. I'll find a way to ship it to you. I just saw a video on that. I think that's crazy. It doesn't even taste like fried chicken. It's like Pepsi Crystal or something, I think. But I'm really excited to have you guys on. This is a movie that is highly, highly controversial. But why not two guys that are kind of perfect to cover this movie? And you both happen to love it, and you in unison picked it. And not that bad is this is kind of the show, right? Like you take a movie that is kind of critically beat down on, and you guys pick, well, this is why we love it, and this is why we think it's actually pretty fucking good. Real quick, let's jump into it. I'll say the first question, and that's the obvious one. And both of you go real quick, I guess. Why is H2 one of your favorite horror movies? Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I guess I'll go. It's so funny. H2 is kind of the movie that me and Connor sort of bonded over. In fact, before we did Not That Bad, we both had our movie review channels at the time, and we did a collaboration on both of Rob Zombie's Halloween movies because we were huge fans. And I especially just could not understand the hate that they got. They have their fan base, especially that first one. But this is not my favorite horror movie exactly, but it has everything that I love about the genre in it. The atmosphere, the kills are done so artistically, but so viscerally to me. Michael Myers, this is like one of the most intimidating but fascinating villains or slasher villains in a horror movie. I think it's rich with psychology and themes, and the visuals. I can't say enough good things about the look of this movie. So it has everything I love about the genre. And yeah, I mean, Connor, what about you?
So it's funny. This is my favorite horror movie. I'm following the trend in the title. This did not start as my favorite horror movie though. First watch, I actually had to be talked out by my then girlfriend, now wife, of breaking my disc in half because I was so pissed off with the movie. But it's funny. I actually at the time was doing a lot of writing, and there were things that I could admit were done well with the movie. Some of the traumatic things and how we saw this sort of deep dive into how victims of a tragedy such as the events in the first Halloween would affect somebody. And upon that rewatch, I got it. It clicked, and I love it so much that I went and visited the filming locations here in Georgia. A lot of fun to do, and man, this movie really does. Gabe said it best. It has everything for me. It's emotional. It's beautiful to look at. Story engages me from start to finish, and I can't wait to get more into it as we go.
Oh yeah, Gabe. I know. Other Gabe. I don't know how we're gonna do this. Are we Gabe 1 and Gabe 2?
We did Mr. Tornero and Mr. Tice when we did it on our show. So
Mr. Tornero, I know I'm gonna give you your spotlight real quick because I know your thoughts on this movie have never seen the light of day. So real quick, why do you love this movie? I know you're with these guys. You're with them on pretty much all of it. You love this one.
Right. So First and foremost, I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan, right? So I love his music. Basically, almost everything that he's done, I'm definitely game for. So with that being said, I think that his version of Michael Myers to me is the scariest version. He's fucking 6'7", just all man meat. You know what I'm saying? Like this guy, he's just. I know it's Tyler Mane, former wrestler, all that good stuff, but I'm sorry, but I don't find a 5'7", 5'8" Michael Myers at all scary. He's shorter than I am at this point, right? So so whenever somebody brings up Michael Myers, I like 6'7" Michael Myers, and that's what I thought is the most thing. And I think the movie is very brutal. Both of them, both Rob Zombie's movies are so brutal, which is what I absolutely love. I understand 78 has its love because of the intricacies of whatever and how the way John Carpenter made it. It's spooky, whatever. But I don't know. I just want brutal murder. That's what I want. So that's
Yeah,
why I love it.
cool. With that being said, Gabe, I mean, let's fire off these questions. Let's get into it. Let's get into this movie, man.
Let's get into the movie a little bit here. So I'm gonna start off with the elephant in the room here, right? Because obviously anybody who watches Halloween 2 and hates it, they reference one thing, right? And so with that one thing is, what does the white horse symbolism mean to you, right? Do you think it detracts for the movie at all? Because that's what you hear a lot of the cons about this is that white horse. So what does that mean for you guys?
Well, I guess on my side here, starting out, well, first of all, it gives us a definition at the beginning of the movie that I like to use as my kind of guiding principle. But to me, it means a little bit more than that. I mean, think about, sort of fables and fairy tales throughout history of the hero riding in with shining armor on a white horse to save the day. And for me, it goes deeper than what they explain in the movie, which I actually have a screenshot of it, linked to instinct, purity, and the drive of the physical body to release powerful and emotional forces like rage and ensuing chaos and destruction. That's not all it means to me when watching. It's clear that Michael holds his mother in this sort of angel-like status throughout the movie. It's sort of the way that he is able to justify what he's doing and drives his narrative throughout the movie. And it ends up being the link between he and Laurie or Angel throughout the movie. And so giving that link along with the explanation at the beginning, it may not work for everybody's version of Michael Myers that they have in their heads. But what it does do is it gives this Michael Myers a story, and it does not take away from the film at all for me. In fact, I would argue for me, it's a very minor detail, and it adds a very little bit when I watch the movie myself.
Cool. What about you, Good?
Yeah, for me, if that white horse was in an A24 movie, people would love it. Right? It's all a matter of perception, right?
Right.
Obviously, in terms of the meaning, we have that dictionary definition at the beginning, which I kind of think is hokey. That's not something I love, that we literally have to have it spelt out. But I'm sure that was like a studio mandate, like you have to explain to people what the fuck this is. But no, to me, this Michael Myers, he's always a child at heart, and I think that is consistent with even Carpenter's version. He always seemed to have like a childlike, curiosity, and that white horse is something that was very important to him because it kind of symbolized a connection with his mother. So even though that it's said to represent his rage, I actually think it represents a very pure part of himself that holds on to the memory of his mother and kind of symbolizes just how much his family means to him. This is a movie that's all about family.
Vin Diesel's a big fan of this one.
Yeah, well, Vin Diesel tried to get a part. He wanted to play Michael Myers, but
that would have been great.
No, so I don't think it was, let's say, a bad call on Rob's part. I wish it wasn't in the movie just because it gives so much ammo to the haters. But and it's kind of more trouble than it's worth at that point. But I see how Rob, who's a very visual director and is always looking to express his themes through the visual medium, through symbolism. I can see why he was compelled by that idea. So I don't judge the movie for it. It's just it doesn't land for me like some of the other visuals do. But it's also like in less than 30 seconds of the movie.
Right. No, absolutely. I think you guys nailed it. I mean, it's though that white horse is nothing but family. That's like you said, it's the connection between Michael Myers and Angel. So, um,
And I think it's
so
Rob described it too. Like I know, sorry to cut you off, Dave,
that's fine.
but I know in an interview he gave that I read the other day, he said it doesn't really have that much of a deep meaning other than what's been given to you, especially with Michael and the toy horse represents his childhood and the purity, much like what other Gabe said. It's just something that represents his childhood. I know there's a bunch of crazy theories I've read on this one, but uh, having it in that state of mind, like when I watched it on the most recent rewatch in the director's cut, I remember this bothering me a lot because it just felt completely out of place. But I don't know. The last week when I gave it a watch, it still didn't land for me. But like I think I'm more in other Gabe's camp where it worked. Like it was like I was fine with it. Like visually, it looks awesome. Not sure if I would have done it, but it's cool. It's fine. Um, but it's interesting to hear your theories on it. But yeah, I think it definitely represents his purity and the childlike state of mind that he's been in pretty much for what, like 15 years now, 10 years, whatever it is.
In our unaired episode of Halloween 2, Tony eviscerated
Oh,
this
I did.
movie based on this white horse.
No, there was
Release
other.
it.
No, don't give me that because there was other reasons I tore this movie apart. I will say this right now: the director's cut. There was a lot of elements I liked in the director's cut. I think the movie flows better, like 100%. Flows 100% better. I still think Loomis, the stuff with Loomis, doesn't work for me. Um, there's elements of the ending in the director's cut that I just flat out don't like. That I think they worked better in the theatrical cut. But what I will say is his whole vision that everybody is, enamored with, people that are big fans, much like you all here that are big fans of H2. I got what he was going for in the director's cut. I don't think I've ever seen the director's cut prior to this weekend. I don't think it's on any streaming service other than me paying $20 for Vudu. But I don't think I was quite as passing with the White Horse stuff as I was this watch. I did, but we were playing those for laughs too, man. We were saying ridiculous shit on those episodes.
Excuses. That's
Like,
all
uh-huh.
excuses.
It's unreleased.
I still-
It's unreleased.
Hey,
You
I
guys
still,
will never see it.
Gabe still wants to get the jabs in there because this episode hasn't been released. But this man has defended some of the worst pieces of shit in the history of film and has told me to watch some garbage movies. And I've sat through some shit boxes, but I'm not going to sit here and let him throw my name under the bus here. Right? I'm not going to let that happen. I knew he was going to
release the Tornado cut.
I'm not going to let it happen. Never
I
going
feel like we're going to become like mediators instead of guests by the time this is over.
It's the showdown. Let's do it.
Hey, I still gave it a 2.5 on Letterboxd. So I guess I'm still not the biggest fan of this movie, but I think the visuals are just off the charts. Like off the charts. And I think it blows the first one visually out the water.
No question.
The combination of 16 millimeter and the 185 flat look, it's totally Rob Zombie. That's his vision. That's the way his movies look. They have that dirty feel. This movie's just dirty. And I even like the feeling of October and Halloween is one of the best in the franchise here. Shooting in Georgia did wonders. It's always gloomy in this movie.
Georgia.
Yeah, I think it works, man. That song's not in the movie.
This is one of my favorite Haddonfields, right?
Yeah.
It looks nothing like the Haddonfield from his first Halloween. So if you're all about continuity, that might get you. But Haddonfield is supposed to represent this really small town, very isolated culture, very homely culture. That this, huge menace, this force of evil is going to come in and disrupt. And even though we don't see a lot of Haddonfield in this, for some reason I was very taken with it. And it's always been like the Haddonfield that's stuck in my mind. This is what I picture when you say the word Haddonfield.
Right. Real quick, I just want to say, and Gabe, I guess I'll take the next question for you. But real quick, I just want to touch on something very important. Gabe does not like old movies. Anything prior to 1980, he doesn't watch. He doesn't like black and white movies. He'd rather watch Clerks 3 for the 7th time instead of watching like fucking, I don't know, like Psycho or Casablanca or something. But,
Well, to be fair,
anyway,
I'd probably do that too. Honestly, with Casablanca, I'd probably
don't
rather
encourage
that
this
first too.
behavior. It's terrible. He's gonna.
When
His
did this
spawns-
become the Bash Gabe show here?
Don't worry, I got both your backs here. Okay, you guys
all
both
right.
came on our show. So.
All right. We got to talk about Loomis. And Loomis is. Why do you think Rob chose to flip Loomis in this? And which version do you prefer? Do you prefer the Donald Pleasance Loomis or the Malcolm McDowell Loomis? And I know Rob's intention was to completely sort of soft reboot in the sequel, like do everything his way, completely unchain himself of any kind of John Carpenter-ness and do his vision. That meant changing some of the characters and how they would act too. So both of you, what do you think of the Loomis in this one? Because that's the controversial one. I'm personally not a huge fan where they went with it. I like the idea. I just wish it was fleshed out a bit more. But where do you two land on it?
So this is a sticking point for me. This is my least favorite choice that Rob made for H2. And part of it is because I loved Malcolm McDowell's performance in the first Halloween. And I'm not going to say he's better than Donald Pleasance because I want to survive until next morning. But the interpretation where he brought so much nuance to that role, because Donald Pleasance as Loomis just sees Michael as evil. He just wants to kill him. He just wants to stop him. It's just that one note for all 6 movies he was in. And that Loomis had this really complicated relationship with Michael where he felt Michael was his best friend and he feels like he failed Michael. I loved all of that. So to see Rob take that character and turn him into the worst kind of asshole, the worst kind of sellout, it was, as a fan of his first Halloween, that was hard to take. I've come to, again, like appreciate what he was going for. He was trying to make a story about how trauma kind of like really warps a person, how it can damage a person. And at least in the director's cut, there's one scene where a reporter kind of has a confrontation with Loomis, and you kind of see him drop the tone, the asshole Loomis tone for a second and be more sincere. And that lets you know that this is a coping mechanism. For me, that makes it go down better. But no, I do not blame anybody who just could not stand this version of Loomis, who could not understand what Rob was doing. So it's a low point of the movie for me.
Yeah. What about you, Connor? What do you think? Because I know you're in love with this one, so you got to have. Tell me why Loomis works in this, or maybe he doesn't for you. Your take.
So let me get this out of the way first. In my opinion, there are only a few shining characters in the original Halloween franchise, which, by the way, is my second favorite film franchise ever. It just means a ton to me. I know all the movies aren't the greatest thing that anybody's ever seen, but it means a lot to me as a franchise. Donald Pleasance is a gem, and he is what kind of carries the franchise even into some movies that I might not like as much. That being said, I absolutely loved the direction they took in this film, Halloween 2, 2009, with Loomis's character. The reason I love it is because it fills the void and kind of shows you how people can evolve with their trauma, right? So let's look at Laurie, for example. One of my favorite lines in the movie is when Danielle Harris's Annie character says, "I'm so not buying this new Laurie act." We see that she sort of becomes the opposite of what she was in Rob Zombie's first Halloween film, like Gabe said, as a coping mechanism to deal with what happened to her. And Loomis, it's sort of even more weight on his shoulders because not only was he a victim, not only was he almost killed himself, but he feels responsible for what happened to these people, because you see how mad he sort of gets for that moment, and he can't help but sort of drop this moment of like, okay, well, I don't feel responsible. But you see that little hint of, yes, I do. And you see that he does at the end of the film when he realizes this new Loomis act did not work out. And you see how particular he is with it. When that initial scene where he's going in with the reporters and he gets mad about the old Loomis being on the picture, it's not the new Loomis, because he doesn't really even see that as a person he wants to be anymore. until the end, and he has to be that person again. And that's when he comes around and redeems himself to try to save this innocent girl that's been caught up with this horrible, in his web of awfulness. And so for me, that worked so much. I love the fact that they did that. I wouldn't have done it any other way, personally. I like that he's a dick throughout the whole movie because it's clear that he's putting on a front. Sometimes he just says shit that I think he's trying to be, I guess, sort of provocative. When he's like, if I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you. Like, who says that? It's not a Loomis thing to say. And because he's not Loomis, he's the new Loomis. So it worked 100% for me. I wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah, I want to agree with you, Connor. It's just, if most of Rob's characters weren't like this, I think it would stand out more to me as a real, as a choice. It kind of felt like Rob was falling back into some sort of comfort zone. I think that's probably where I and a lot of people are gonna just butt heads with it. I like the idea of Loomis being flawed and him having a redemption arc. I just think the idea that the guy from the first Halloween becomes this guy and then goes back to being good, or having that kind of weird character arc. It's just, I think Rob did so much better with Lori and her story that I think it just kind of makes Loomis stand out a little bit more like that.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that, because in that first movie, one of the highlights of that first movie for me is how he was able to revamp Loomis. I think Loomis does have an arc in that first movie, and he made him so grounded. And this is a guy you can picture being around children and then has helped other children in a similar situation, possibly. And his scenes with young Michael, they have great banter and back and forth. And Malcolm McDowell is perfect. He's perfectly cast in that movie, and you get him as this person that's down to earth and wants to help people. And then you have this total 180 in this movie, which is, you can tell Malcolm McDowell's having the time of his life saying these lines and just chewing people out scene to scene.
Yep.
But I'm just not sure about that transition. He could pull it off because it's him, but I'm just not sure if it works for the character, especially from the one that we saw in that first movie. I don't totally buy that guy would have sold out to this level, to the point where he just completely gives up. But Connor, I guess I could see your point of view too. You perfectly explained your take on it. And in Rob Zombie's world, people go through like a shitstorm of just like chaos. So who knows? Maybe Rob Zombie's Loomis would go through this, and this is the best case scenario, I guess, for that character. But yeah, Gabe, I guess I'll shoot it to you. What do you think, or just your next question, man?
Yeah, no, I love. He's a bit of an asshole, but I think it's just that British accent that makes him seem more of an asshole more than anything.
You think British people are assholes?
Yeah, for sure. They want to colonize the entire world. That's how big of an assholes they are.
I've met nice British people, but I've talked about this with Victoria. British people have shitty food. Their food looks shitty. It looks like brown mess. I'm sure they have
bangers and mash, bro. Bangers and mash.
They just eat fucking beans and like biscuits.
Beans for breakfast. Oh, I can't talk about beans for breakfast.
Well, that's like a Latino thing too. But like their food just looks like slop. It looks like, I don't know, like in Vegas Vacation when they switch the food out.
Don't they have a dessert called spotted dick?
They do. I think they do.
It's in a can.
Yeah, it's spotted dick in a can. Yeah.
Yes.
That's not, I'm not making that up. I swear.
I've seen it in the international food aisle.
You know what it is?
I cannot believe that the Queen just died. And you
we're already dogpiling on the British people.
You monsters. Her body's not even cold yet.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
Who, us? Monsters?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure when she's like, close to her fucking death, and they're like, Your Majesty, what do you want is like your last meal? She probably just a single tear just rolls down her eye because she knows that food is just bland. That's some shitty ass food. Like even.
Dude, I thought you were gonna go with like, what do you want for your last meal? And she was gonna be like spotted dick.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that
Oh man.
You know, I could definitely imagine King Charles saying, "If I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you." So I can see where Gabe is coming
That's what
from.
he told Harry and his other kids.
Oh my god. This has gone off the rails already, man. This is great.
So one of the things that I wanted to make sure is because we all know that Rob Zombie didn't really want to make this. Once they started casting like directors, because Weinstein had already a director for this and screenwriters for this, ready to go for part two. Rob Zombie was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll do it again. So, but do you think that this movie has that Rob Zombie signature that's across most of all of his movies? Even though he came in sort of like later onto the project, sort of just feel like, all right, I got to do it because it's my name to it? Or do you think he just sort of like, in certain aspects, just like nailed it in more than anything?
No, man, that's the thing. I feel like he has his signature style here, but he evolves on it. I mean, this is like if Federico Fellini directed a Grindhouse movie. You know,
Oh my
I mean,
god.
because
it's a great, yeah.
and people give him shit for this,
How do
and
you
I have
think of this
no
shit?
idea why. It is like the least valid criticism in the world to me. Like people talk about the dream sequences, the hallucination sequences, just like, oh, Rob didn't even know what he was doing. He had nothing to say with the sequel. It's like you see and understand everything that you need to know about Michael Myers because he takes you directly into his psyche, you know? And to me, that's horrifying. I mean, if we're talking about the experience of watching a horror movie, the idea of seeing that and living in that mind is just chilling to me. And I mean, everybody can criticize Rob's dialogue and other aspects of his writing, but when it's just him and a camera, I think he is unstoppable. And I think this movie is totally proof of that. I don't know if like his diehard fans, the Devil's Rejects crowds, were like disappointed with this, if they felt like he abandoned his style. To me, he doubled down on everything that I loved about him and kind of didn't totally abandon all of that like profane dialogue and stuff, but he kind of got it out of his system very early on. And I think he focused on a story that was very new for him, a completely different type of story.
I wanted to touch on really quick. Actually, no, Connor, you didn't get a chance to speak. My bad. Go ahead, and then I'll on the production.
No, no worries,
speak.
man.
Yeah.
But well, honestly, like I think Gabe said a lot of it there. To me, this has all of the best of what Rob had done up until that point. From every film that he made, it felt like he took the things that he learned from those experiences and put them into this one as a refined. It sort of went through a filter, and I think it went through the filter in the best way. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely the sort of like the we watched a movie effect. They have this really specific idea of Rob being this profane, bearded, long-haired hobo guy, and that's all of what his characters are. And to an extent, you do have those in the movie. I mean, Michael Myers is basically one of them. But I think he takes the best of his visual styles and puts it in this movie. I mean, truthfully, I think it's his most strikingly the visuals are just out of this world, in my opinion. There's not a scene in this movie that looks awful. The only film in his filmography that gets even close to this, in my opinion, is 31, which people don't even like that movie. But just the lighting is perfect everywhere. In my opinion, and people really don't like when I say this, but I think it's overall his best written film. A lot of people scream rejects when I say that, but to me, I think I can buy the character saying the lines in this more than I can in Rejects, because I know people who talk like people in Halloween 2. I don't really know people who talk like, the guys in Devil's Rejects. So I think it has all of the best of what Rob can do. Some of the worst, that's, I think that comes with any movie. A director always puts in their best and their worst into everything. And that's what, you love or hate about him. But I'd like to think that this has just the perfect amount of Rob Zombie in it and just the perfect amount of an evolution of his style.
So I think I want to touch on, you guys touched on, is Rob, he's going to give you his vision unfiltered. And that's why he hates not hates, he hates the process of working on that first Halloween movie because he felt like he was chained to something that he wasn't committed to. He wanted to do his vision. Uh, I know, Gabe, you used the Federico Fellini comparison. A great film writer who I like called Walter Chow, he compared him to John Cassavetes. He's like the John Cassavetes of like these 70s grindhouse sort of homage movies where he brings in his wife and, Cassavetes with Gina Rollins. It's very similar. And what you want a Rob Zombie movie and you hire him to make a Rob Zombie movie, that's what he's going to make, no matter what. And Halloween 2 had such a troubled production. I just wanted to touch on this as we were talking about his vision because the Weinsteins, who were really shitty, they had a lock on a lot of these horror franchises. And they were just in the game of what can we make money with? What can we make money with? Scream, or okay, we're going to go to Scream. We're going to hire people to do Hellraiser, even though it doesn't get made. Let's bring Rob back to do Halloween 2 because it broke Labor Day records. This is a movie where the turnaround was so short. I believe he was hired back in December of 2008. He had cameras rolling in February of 2009. Was told that he would have a release date of October of 2009 until the very last second in the editing process where he was told it would be pushed 2 months early and he would have to have the movie ready before then in August. So I don't know. What do you guys think about just that in general? Do you think Rob is a guy that just maybe, producers just don't understand? Is he better when he's doing things on his own, or can he kind of coexist in like that studio system still?
Well, unfortunately, his experience was working with the Weinsteins, who are notoriously, the most
The worst.
controlling. Yeah, I mean, they're the worst, right?
What a movie like this too, which is like you either get it or you don't,
Yes.
frankly. And I can't picture him showing this to fucking Harvey Weinstein. And he was probably having a brain aneurysm as he was watching it. There's no way in hell Harvey Weinstein liked this movie.
I don't think he likes movies at all. I don't think that's why Harvey Weinstein was in the game.
No, he's a piece of
like,
shit.
This isn't
Rob,
like
why
Chicago.
isn't
You
there
told
more
me this was
nudity in this movie?
He's scouting his next victim.
Sorry to interrupt.
I'll say this, Rob does some great director's commentaries, and I watched the one for both, Halloween 1 and H2, and hearing about the production troubles just made you appreciate him even more. And I'm glad that he got to, work with a bigger budget and that we got to see what Rob could do in the studio system with Halloween 1. But I think in his heart of hearts, he is that low budget grindhouse auteur. I don't think he's comfortable doing much else. I mean, he fought to shoot this in 16 millimeter, right? Coming off of a movie, I think the first Halloween, they made him shoot it with, I think, anamorphic lenses or something that's not in his wheelhouse. I think that movie looks great too, but Rob is a guy that chases after a vision that he really stands for. I think he doesn't just think of his movies as, these projects he does. Altogether, Rob Zombie is a brand, and he's always going to stay on brand. So if you hire him to do Halloween, there's only so far he's going to stray from what fans and others have come to acknowledge his brand to be, right? So I guess that's a long-winded way of just saying, he's such a visionary over everything related to him, right? So I don't think he's a guy who is you can hire just to do anything. He has a space that he flourishes in. I think he can, he did the Munsters fine in my opinion, but yeah.
Connor, what about you? What do you think? Do you agree with Gabe? Is he somebody that just when he's got creative control, you leave him unchained, or is he still a person that you think can make something big, like a big studio movie?
Okay, this is gonna sound weird at first, but I think Rob just needs a studio like in A24. Not saying he's built for A24 movies, don't get me wrong, but A24 feels like one of those studios that you hear directors talk about working with, and they talk about how much of their vision ended up in the film. And so commonly with a studio like that, they trust these directors to put out the movies, and that's why they hire them. They don't hire them because they know that they're going to be a name that they can put on a poster and sell tickets for, like they did with Rob, like the Weinsteins did with Rob. Somebody should definitely pay him big money to make a big movie that he wants to make, because in my opinion, that's his best work. Let's look at everything he's done. That's his work. And in some ways, House of a Thousand Corpses was, in some ways it wasn't. We know that Lionsgate ended up getting the final cut of that. But that movie's beloved, and it's more Rob than some of his later works. And then we look at The Devil's Rejects, and that was the one that, in my opinion, was the perfect balance of big budgets and beloved. It showed that he can handle a big budget for a movie, relatively speaking. It's not a cheap looking movie in any way. It's very spread out story. And Halloween 2 is another perfect example of that for me. You have this guy who didn't really want to come back for it to begin with, but when he did, man, he came back, and he came back swinging, and he was going to make it the way he wanted to. And to see that he was able to crank out something that, in my opinion, is of such high quality with so many production issues, like, losing the film, which was a big thing that I hated to see happen. Who knows what we could have lost on that. But through all of the issues, through all of the problems, you let Rob be Rob for this movie. And for me, it may not have created something for everybody that they see as the shining beacon of what horror movies should be, but it is for me. And the people who get it are the people who really, really get it and appreciate it. So it's hard to say. I think mainstream audiences are not really ready for another big Rob Zombie picture with a big budget behind it and a big marketing campaign. But smaller medium budget movies, I think, would be absolutely perfect. Just let him go crazy with enough money to do whatever he wants to do. And that's what I want to see. So yes, I do think he could handle it, but no, I don't think he likes working with them enough to do anything. So it's hard to say.
Let Rob make his uncut gems. Mr. Ternero, what's your next question, man? I mean, what do we got here? What do you think?
All right. I think I gotta ask though. I mean, I know he didn't want to make this one, but should they have given him a trilogy? Should we have gotten a Rob Zombie's Halloween 3 out of this? See another continuation of it?
Well, I've had a chance to look into the script that was written for Halloween 3, and I assume it was not written by Rob, obviously. No. And I do not believe at this point that Rob is going to come back at all. Should somebody else have made a third installment to this? No, never. This is Rob Zombie in and out. I mean, it's all about the mindset, right? That Rob would have been working in. I mean, I don't think he should have worked on something that he hated for people that he hated. And I think there's such a finality to this movie that made it clear that in his mind, this is a duology. And I just don't see what a third movie would add. I mean, I love this universe he created here. I love the style. I love this version of Michael. So I would watch it and enjoy it. But when I finish this, I'm not like, oh, I need more. I have been given a total serving of a fine meal.
Yeah, that's a fair point you made there. Not that bad, Gabe. From my side here, I'm going to say this. When I watched the movie, I absolutely would love to see more of what we got in Halloween 2, the score, the atmosphere, the look, all that made it great for me. But no, they shouldn't have made a trilogy, and that's because, and I guess here's where the laughs begin. I think the ending of the director's cut is perfect. I love everything about it. I love how the story completes. As much as people make fun of it, I think it's a perfect way to close out the story in such a poetic and artistic way. And I would not have wanted to see him come back and ruin that. Now, there are ways that you could do it. I mean, if you wanted to bring him back and Michael's the only survivor and now he's mad that his family, he didn't get him back together. He failed. So now he's going to take that out on Haddonfield. I think that's an interesting way to go about it. If the script that was written for it was any indication of what it could have been, it was absolutely awful. I've read it front to back. It was terrible. But
it was in 3D.
But 3D. Woo. No.
And Michael's mask got fused to his face.
Yes,
That was my favorite part.
But
Interesting.
I don't think it would have.
Gabe sounds like he wants to see this movie.
Yes, he does. Yeah, look at that.
Will it be better than Clerks 3? We'll never know.
Yeah. But no, not at all. In my opinion, it was the perfect way to close out his duology, and I would not have wanted to see more of the story, even with Rob.
Cool. I have to ask because this is a question that I don't know if you were gonna get to it, Gabe, but why the hell not? We'll piggyback off of it. Do you prefer overall the director's cut or the theatrical cut? When I was talking to Gabe off camera, I said, man, if there's a way that they can kind of Frankenstein both cuts together, for me personally, I think there's something in there that I would have preferred a lot more. But I guess for both of you, whichever cut you think is the strongest, let us know. Which one do you think is the definitive cut? I'll start with you, Connor, because I know you're going to say director's cut because you told me before we started. That's like the definitive version of this movie for you. Tell us why.
I think the director's cut is just perfect for the type of story that's being told. You get more moments for the relationship of Annie and Laurie, which in my opinion is the strongest point of the movie. It leads to the most emotional scene in the movie, which I think is done so much better in the director's cut. I see some people say that like the noises are hilarious, but I strongly recommend that you walk in on the same situation that character did and see if you don't make a similar gut-wrenching sound. But I know people think I'm crazy, but I think the story is told in a much more fluid manner when you watch it in the director's cut because you're getting his full vision. And when you see the ending of the movie, and I know so many people laugh at the fact that he screams "Die" at the end of the movie. I know that's a big point of contention. My thought process is this. This is a man with the mind of a child. He did not grow up with a big education. And if you were a child that didn't speak a word for 15 years, and now you're an adult with the mind of a child, and we see that throughout the whole movie, that he's got this mind of a messed up child, why wouldn't die be something that he would say? Why is that something that's completely out of left field? I get it. It's cheesy when you compare it to other films and such, but within the context of the story, I completely got it. I got the significance of it. And all in all, I just think it's the way to watch the movie from start to finish. Theatrical is much better, in my opinion, when you're watching his first film. But when you're watching his second film, you can't skip the director's cut for me. I get more people dig the other ending, but it's just so poetic and beautiful to me.
Cool. How about you, Gabe?
But Michael can't talk. You can't do that. That's not how John Carpenter did it, Rob. That was such an asshole way of answering your question.
God.
The director's cut is better. And I'm not saying that as a fanboy. I do prefer the theatrical cut of the original Halloween because it does not have the rape escape scene, which is, in my opinion, the absolute worst thing that Rob has ever done. So I mean it sincerely when I say that I just think that this is the story. The theatrical cut just waters it down. The psychology, the intensity. I know that people complain about Laurie being unlikable. Well, not every movie character is supposed to be likable. This is the story of a broken person who is, conflicted between the very sweet and innocent girl that she was in the first movie versus, the Myers DNA that she has in her. It's a battle of nature versus nurture. And I think that Scout Taylor Compton's performance is explosive in the best way. I think she completely sells the pain and the anger. And, you can call her unlikable, but when she comes in to see Annie's body, I felt for her. And that was the strongest emotion that this entire franchise has ever gotten out of me. Yeah. And that's a moment that hits hardest in the director's cut.
Yeah.
Also, there were a few just moments that they decided to take out that were really like fun beats. Like when and during the hospital scene, when Laurie tries to grab this axe behind a glass and she can't do it. And Michael just comes up and he hulks that shit. He just bursts through the glass and grabs it. It's little moments like that really make a movie stand out. So why lose that? If we're getting into the ending, I have been of two minds about this. I mean, if you're going to make Michael speak, I don't think die is the best line you should give him. But I do agree with Connor's point that this is, I think the idea of Michael saying something kind of very primal and very not childlike, but just it's such a, he's such an animalistic, feral version of the character that it still fits, it fits for the story that Rob was telling, because Michael has a journey through this movie that he goes from being that silent killer, that stalker, to being more human. Some might say that he's more human than human by the end of the
movie. Don't bring this to Flopbuster. Don't you bring this to Flopbuster. You do it on our show all the time. Don't
bring me on if you don't want this energy, Connor.
I think I would have preferred if he started quoting the monologue from the end of the Joker about society. That would have worked. That would have been perfect. I think everybody would have been very, very happy about that. He does his best Joaquin Phoenix impression. And tells Malcolm Adele, "You get what you deserve." And who knows? Maybe people would have liked it.
I don't try to publicly bash movies that everybody loves, but Joker is exactly the same movie Halloween, that Rob's first Halloween was. Except everybody loves it. I mean, and I hate it. And I hated it for the reasons
that movie. It's a downer. It's an interesting thing. I remember reading all about it and knowing what it's being based off of and being a fan of the source material, and then knowing what they're referencing in those initial reports of, it's Scorsese. It's going to be a Scorsese thing. And then you watch it and, no, it's fucking King of Comedy. It's fucking Taxi Driver, but, not as good. But the conversation around that movie is so interesting. It's like the Halloween 2 conversation in the horror community, but on an epic scale where you either fucking love it or you hate it and you can't be in the middle. I'm kind of in the middle. I think it's a well-made film, but there's definitely things in there where I'm like, like, I feel like in the hands of a more capable director, this could have been, way cooler.
I will just say,
but it's an interesting comparison.
Todd Phillips is to Martin Scorsese what Greta Van Fleet is to Led Zeppelin, and that's the last thing I will say on the subject.
Oh, geez.
Gabe's a huge fan of the Joker. I'm just kidding. I don't know what his thoughts are on the Joker. I have no idea. I just wanted. He's been quiet over there.
That's my
Gabe.
He's gone.
My Gabe, real quick.
I'm the only Gabe left.
I don't want to piss anybody off about Joker. I mean, that's in some people's favorite of all time list.
I know.
We're already pissing him off enough with the Halloween 2 talk. Leave Joker out of this.
Leave him alone. Gabe, what is the cut that you prefer, man? Like theatrical or directors? I feel like it's directors for you, right?
It's directors. I love the relationship Annie has, their friendship. I think, I don't know, friendship's always been key, to surviving anything, whether it be heartbreak or, murder or whatever the case may be. And so their friendship really comes to the forefront. And like all friendships, they bicker, they fight, but they love each other at the end, It takes all that whole aspect into the relationship into this movie. So that's why I prefer the director's cut.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest highlight of the director's cut, I think I'm with you guys on it because one, it just flows better. I think it works better scene to scene. But Brad Dourif is somebody that really, really shines in the director's cut.
Yes.
And you talk about small moments. There's a quick flash where they show Daniel Harris as a child. In that one moment, like you feel his pain and emotion with the scream, which I know is something that some fans have made fun of. I think it's fine. Like he's a great character actor, and he gets a lot more to play with in this movie. And just that one moment of him over the body and the just silence, and you see that quick image of her as a kid, I thought worked perfectly. And I think that's a great moment, as well as the hospital sequence, Knights in White Satin, and then that dumpster full of dead bodies, which I don't remember. Is that even in the theatrical?
That is not in the theatrical cut.
That was a sick image. It's great.
It's crazy.
That was a powerful image, and it is a great clue that this is a dream sequence.
Yes.
Right.
So for me, I feel prepared for when Laurie wakes up,
Yeah.
and I get if you take that shot out, it really is a huge, it's a huge left turn.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know why they took these things out. I don't know. I mean, why take out like 5-10 seconds of footage?
Right.
It's like
and
literally
it's crucial. I think
Exactly.
it's crucial. It's what you said. It's a dream sequence, and it makes all the difference. I mean, it's creepy. It's really really creepy. And goddamn, they had to kill Octavia Spencer, who is in a multiverse of movies at this point. Before she's in the fucking Help, she's in Spider-Man, and here, like, where's she gonna pop up next?
Trying to make it. Just trying to make it in the mid 2000s.
Well, at least Stretch from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 escaped.
Yes,
Michael's wrath.
Yes, she did. Stretch survived the dream sequence.
Yes, which is great that she's in this too. I love that you have Dee Wallace in the first one in a quick cameo. Here you have Caroline Williams. I love when he gives the tip of the hat to other movies and brings in some genre veterans like that. I think it's awesome.
That's a staple. That's one of that's something I think everybody can agree is a really cool part of the style.
Yeah,
and that goes back to like I could see like the Cassavetes comparison there. It's like using a bunch of people that and making this down and dirty movie, which is something I want to touch on, which we haven't touched on. There's another movie he was supposed to make prior to this that he kind of got conned into making this movie. In hopes of making a separate film called T-Rex, which was about a boxer, an underground boxing ring. It was going to be an action grindhouse 70s film. I think he was going to have Danny Trejo in there and his wife as well. Man, and that's always one of those movies that I go back to, and I really wish he could have made that one. That I feel like that's one movie that I feel like Rob would have been perfect for. The concept art was awesome for that.
And I always wanted him to make that Groucho Marx movie.
That's right. There's a ton of projects he was attached to that he just couldn't get to. I know he had the hockey movie. There you go.
The Backstreet Bullies. I think
and they were
perfect for that.
They were gonna potentially make his Grindhouse trailer into a full feature, Werewolf Women in VSS.
I don't really think we're missing out there.
Oh no, dude! I want to see that so bad. Give me all of that.
One.
Give me all of that.
I would see it. I honestly, I'm not somebody that's split on Grindhouse. I love every moment of Grindhouse. Whenever I watch it, I watch both sections, all the trailers. I love that whole meal. Everything in it is just so much fun. So I'd be down for it. It would be fucking weird, but I'm there for it for sure. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Gabe, let's jump into another question, man. What else you got?
All right, I got a couple more here. So I want to know, where do you rank this among the entire Halloween franchise? And how about among the Rob Zombie filmography?
I'm so excited for this question.
Let's start with Halloween first.
Yeah. This is my favorite Halloween movie ever made. I don't even want to get into a debate over Rob's vision versus John Carpenter's vision. I mean, look, I'm not here to slander the master of horror. I'm not here to put anybody down. I just, again, this literally has everything I could possibly want out of a horror movie and just from a movie watching experience. It is emotionally powerful. I mean, I'm not really kidding with the like A24 comparisons because I feel like this is a predecessor to a lot of the elevated horror stuff that we see. I know the words elevated horror and Rob Zombie don't seem like they go together, but
I was surprised you could say those together without bursting into flames.
But to me, Rob is that kid in class who doesn't seem like he's paying attention, but you know what? He's acing all the tests because he is somebody who's so I don't want to keep saying it. He's so about his brand. I think he is so driven by his love of this genre and his love of the people he works with that he creates everything he does is a labor of love. And I just feel like most of this franchise is either, a very well executed technical exercise of suspense, like the original, or it's aping much better movies. So, and I definitely prefer this to Rob's original Halloween, if I haven't made that clear. And this is also my favorite movie of his because, again, not only did he capture that style that attracted me to him in the first place, he evolved and he created a movie. This is in the same conversation somehow as Federico Fellini and John Cassavetes, and I don't even know how that happened, but the fact that I can really dive in and talk about this movie the way that I do, analytically, passionately, it's just not something I can do for any other movie in this franchise.
What about you, Connor?
Let me tell you a little story. My Halloween fandom started because of AMC. When you turn on the TV and you watch those Halloween marathons that they had on. I was about 9 years old, and I saw Halloween 5 was the first one I saw in full. And it meant the world to me. I mean, it changed the world for me. And truthfully, I'd never seen a horror film before. And the first one I see is a kid around my age getting chased by a killer. It's the coolest thing you could possibly imagine. It's also the most terrifying thing you could possibly imagine. It immediately captured me. And Halloween 4 did the same thing the next year when I saw a trailer that it was going to be on TV again. So I watched it again, watched Halloween 4, watched Halloween 5. And to this day, I still rank Halloween 4 above the original because of how much it means to me. The original is much better made, and don't get me wrong, it's a classic, but I put Halloween 4 above that. And Halloween 4 means the world to me. That being said, this is far and above Halloween 4 for me and is my number one Halloween film. It's my favorite franchise. There's a lot of other movies I like. Hell, I literally have a thorn tattoo on my wrist. I love this franchise a lot. But to me, there's no movie that has the weight that Halloween 2 has. There's no movie that connects with me as much as Halloween 2 has. And that's the other thing too, is emotion. Gabe brought up emotion, and that's something that you don't always expect when you go into a slasher. You expect for maybe 1 or 2 kills for you to go, oh man, I really didn't want that character to die. But, and I don't care how emasculating this sounds, every single time I watch the scene with Annie, I cry every single time. I tried not to. Last time I was like, yeah, I know it's coming. No problem. I've seen this movie a million times. I did it again. So there's so much about this movie that makes it the top of the Halloween franchise for me. And on top of that, I think that already gave away my answer for Rob's filmography. Halloween is the most important horror franchise to me. And this is number one. It's my number one horror movie as a whole. It tops Rob Zombie's list too. Rejects is fantastic, and House of a Thousand Corpses is my comfort movie, but so is Halloween 2. And this is the one that I'm going to turn on if I'm just going to turn on any movie in my entire collection, truthfully. Means a ton to me and tops both of those lists easily.
Cool. Gabe, I'm going to shoot it back to you real quick. Where does this rank for you in the Halloween movies? Because I know you like pretty much Rob's movies the most. You're a big fan of these, so where does it rank? Halloween 2, where does it rank in all of the Halloween films?
Number 2.
Number 2?
Number 2.
After the remake? Is that
after Rob Zombie's number 1. It's like Rob Zombie's 1 and 2. Listen, I'm not the biggest. I'm not gonna sit here and preach that I'm the biggest Halloween fan. I think for the most part, if anybody watches our show knows that I fucking hate Halloween for the most part. It's not my favorite. I don't even consider Michael Myers top 5 Mount Rushmore.
Kevin Smith is on there,
yeah, no. Somehow Kevin Smith is on the horror Mount Rushmore.
Just like on the Rushmore, think like fucking Freddy and Chucky, and then Kevin Smith like this on a fucking microphone.
But the brutality of Rob Zombie's Halloweens, both 1 and 2, made me love these. Made me want to know more about the franchise. But Rob Zombie's 1 and 2 takes a cake for me.
Cool.
So,
I don't know. I feel like I am the odd man out a little bit because I still am kind of mixed on this movie. But the one thing I appreciate more than anything, just like any Rob Zombie movie, is that he sticks to his fucking vision. And in a world now where you're either making a small movie or you're a hired gun at a big studio movie, it's kind of cool to see a guy just do his own thing. And he's still doing his own thing, just like the fucking Monsters, which is out right now, which is a sponsor of this show, the Month Country. It's out right now.
Come on out, Rob. Come on. Special guest.
Come on down.
Rob, I'm sorry.
Robert Zombert is here today.
I think he left, guys.
He's got like a gun to my head because I said the trailer was the worst trailer I've ever seen. And now I'm saying, no, the movie's not bad. but I like that he sticks to his guns. So it's hard for me to really rank. If I had to, I don't really like the Thorn sequels, so I think upon the rewatch, I would put the director's cut above those. I would really have to think about it because I think the first movie, Carpenter's, is still one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
You
And I know
had
it's
2 months to think about how
I know.
you would feel about this ranking.
Hey,
All
but
right?
no,
2
not
months.
2 months, not 2 months. You
Since
listen,
we announced the
Gabe-
series.
Gabe does this thing where he wants to be a contrarian. If tomorrow somebody says that fucking I don't know, what's a popular movie coming out? Avatar 2 is like the worst movie of all time. It's got like a 0%. Everybody hates it. Gabe's gonna already know he's gonna love it. He's
Like
gonna go into
Morbius?
he hasn't even seen the movie yet. Like Morbius, which he forced us to see. He held us hostage to go see Morbius. And I was sitting there losing my mind. I tell the story a lot. I had to walk out the theater to get a breather. That movie was so bad.
Don't lie. He held my
No,
he
that
held my
movie was-
hand during the
listen.
entire movie.
Honestly, did I or did I not walk out of that theater for like 10 minutes?
I thought you had a fart and you didn't want to fart next to
Oh,
me.
no. And then I was like, why are you people clapping? They clapped at the post-credit scene when they added Michael Keaton. Spoiler alert, I guess, for anybody that hasn't fucking seen it. They try to tie it into the MCU.
I'm never going to see it, so.
Okay, they try to tie it in, and it doesn't matter. But Gabe was there, standing like he was at the fucking opera or something. Like what's that opera that they always have at the Fathom events, the commercial, the Metropolitan Opera.
Oh, yeah.
That's Gabe. No, but I think I really learned a lot upon this rewatch, and I think I saw it with a new lens, and I think the director's cut helps. And I would encourage anybody that's maybe not the biggest fan. I was always dead in the middle. Watch the director's cut, and I think you'll learn a lot more, and you'll appreciate a lot more. But that's the one thing I'll always appreciate about Rob is his vision and doing his own thing. And he doesn't give a shit what you're going to do. And that's more than what you can say for a handful of directors in this franchise that are just hired guns. I can't remember who the fuck directed Halloween 4 or 6. I couldn't tell you. I could tell you who directed Halloween 1 and 2 from 07 and 09, and I could tell you what they look like. Can't say the same for the other movies. So.
I mean, and you just have to admire, I mean, just his directorial skills. I mean, his eye for atmosphere, the way he brings together the perfect score, lighting, the way he choreographs his sequences. I mean, he totally bodies the original Halloween 2 in like 6 minutes. Like, I mean, I guess this is like a controversial opinion. I think the original Halloween 2 is borderline worthless. So to see him just like to see him stomp all over that movie, that crummy movie, in just a 6-minute dream sequence. I don't know. I'm not saying this was a flex on his part, but it's something I always point to. Like, you cannot tell me that this is a low point for this franchise. Just watch these two back to back and tell me that you don't know who the better director is, who the more compelling director is, who the more precise and visionary director is. I just won't hear it.
Well, Rick Rosenthal also directed Halloween Resurrection.
He did.
Which is, I mean, come on. No, I'm just playing. I wanted to reference this real quick. Gabe, my Gabe, I guess I'll let you answer this. Andrew wants to know what movie he should see this week.
Monsters.
Morbius or the fucking Monsters.
I'm gonna go with the Monsters. All right. Listen,
I give the same answer.
You guys don't have to listen to Tony. I did not like Morbius. In fact, it's on internet. It's on the internet. All right, it's on the internet. We did sit on the theater review, and I was like, yeah, do not watch Morbius. The only reason why Tony says that is because I do
for
like
months he told me this was gonna be a great movie.
I did. Listen, I thought it was gonna be good. Vampires, Jared Leto. I thought, all right, cool. Morbius is gonna be fucking awesome. And then we sat there, watched the movie. I'm like, this is fucking terrible. Like the only saving grace is that you see Jared Leto for like a fucking hour there, shirts off, whatever. It's cool, right? But that's like the only thing. Anyways, Monsters, you have to see it. I actually, like we said, I bought it without even seeing the movie yet. I already got the DVD in the mail today from Amazon. So
no
watch
bullshit.
Monsters.
Real quick, the Monsters isn't bad. If you go in expecting a camping good time, I think you'll have fun with it. Do all the jokes land? I don't think they all land. Do I think that Grandpa's great? Yes. Do I think the visuals are great? They're really good, especially for the small budget. I'm guessing he must have been working with something under $5 million. I think it's a fun time. I think the second half is definitely stronger. I think you cut out the first 20 minutes of that movie for a strong 80 to 85 minute little thing. But for the most part, it's a labor of love. So I dug it for the most
What
part.
people don't, what I feel like people don't understand, and maybe now it's like as we're getting older, like the younger people, is that Rob Zombie started directing White Zombie music videos.
Yeah.
And his own music videos like Dragula and More Human and Human and all that stuff, right? So when he transitioned into film, he was a perfect guy to transition. I know you had a lot of music video directors that transitioned, like Mick G or whatever the fuck his name is.
Oh yeah, McG.
Wasn't Marcus Nispel also a director?
Yeah, the guy
Was.
also
most people who directed a horror movie in the 2000s had directed a music video during
early 2010s.
Simon, what was his name? The guy that
the
directed
guy from Friday,
Nightmare on Elm Street. Too.
Yeah,
Gary
Nightmare
Gary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the guy who did the Nightmare remake.
Yeah, him. Yeah, he did Nightmare. He fucking hated the original Nightmare, by the way.
I think he also cut trailers for a while too, which explains some of like how most of the movie just feels like it's trying to create trailer moments. I think he was also the guy that was cutting trailers just before he made Nightmare.
So I thought Rob Zombie is just the perfect director to go into horror movies, though. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
It's amazing when you look at the way his career almost started. I mean, there were a bunch of movies that he was in talks to make before he did House of a Thousand Corpses. He was talking about doing a Crow sequel, talking about
Glad
doing
he
Freddy.
didn't do that.
me too, right? And that's the thing. Like, he is such a precise filmmaker, and that's why I kind of answered the way I did. That I don't want to see him just like become that hired gun. I mean, maybe he could direct, I don't know, The Matrix, but why? Why would you get Rob Zombie to do that? That'd be as useless as getting Quentin Tarantino to do a Star Trek movie, which almost happened.
Oh,
and
that still might happen.
I pray to God every day that it does not. So
I'm very interested in reading that script, though, because I know it's got to be completed. Something must be in like a vault somewhere at Paramount. I'm very interested to see what a Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie looks like.
He also almost directed Halloween 6 as well.
Tarantino?
He was asked to direct
What do you mean he almost directed it? Do you mean that they asked him and that
he did consider directing Halloween 6, but decided it wasn't the time, and I think
he didn't want to work with Paul Rudd.
He said, that Paul Rudd guy,
like major beef.
That Paul Stephen Rudd guy is a loser. Don't hire him.
No, but I think it's everything you guys are saying is like, you get Rob to be Rob, and that's what you go for going into these movies. Do I think he has stronger movies? To me, yes. I love The Devil's Rejects. I know that's the fucking obvious answer, but I truly think it's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
Really, really enjoy.
I mean, that's the best representation of his style.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you're like, hey, I want to know if I should get into Rob Zombie, I would definitely.
That is a Rob Zombie movie.
The Devil's Rejects. It's the best representation of his style, and this is, I think, his best movie, especially in terms of him challenging himself. You know, him kind of.
It's a culmination of all the talents that he learned along the way, and it's like he embodied it all into Halloween 2.
Exactly.
Gabe, any other questions you want to shoot?
Yes, I'm gonna close off my questions with two that we always ask our guests. It's what's your favorite kill, and would you survive this horror movie?
Let's see. I think my favorite kill has to be the stomp kill. That's one where I just feel it. You know, like my favorite kills aren't the most creative. They're the ones that I really do feel like I can physically feel as I'm witnessing it. And then to see the aftermath, to see Jeff Daniel Phillips' face mashed in like that, honestly, it was like pretty revolting stuff. That was pretty gross, but it was gnarly.
What about you, Connor? My bad.
No, that's okay. I would say for mine, I kind of have two, and I know it's kind of a cheap answer, but the one's for entertainment value. Obviously, Howard getting stomped in the alley or behind the strip club was just like so crazy. I mean, I love the little preamble that they have to it where he's like, I already put 2 jagoffs in the hospital earlier. So
hit the bricks, Dorothy.
Yes, hit the bricks, Dorothy. So I love that little preamble, and then it goes into the kill, which is great. Jeff is awesome. But then there's like the other side of it, which I think, like, I mean, Annie's death is truly just raw emotion. It's one of the better kills that I've ever seen in a horror movie, as far as like what it means to the story. So as much as I hate that scene, because I sort of connect that to being both the Annie character that I've grown to love throughout Halloween 2 and the character of Jamie Lloyd, which never got a proper goodbye, just in one. And so that kill would probably be like the most important to me. But I mean, watching Howard get stomped is pretty gnarly, I gotta say.
Yeah. Now, would you guys be able to survive this movie? Would you guys be able to survive against Michael Myers?
Fuck no. Fuck no.
This guy,
dude is
no.
7 feet tall, and I mean, look what happened to Howard, okay? Jeff Daniel Phillips is an ass kicker, okay? And he got put down, he got choke slammed and stomped. Okay. I got no chance in this.
Yeah, I mean, and even though he walks, he's got some kind of fucking teleportation thing. Maybe this is science fiction, because he pops up at all the worst places. Man, he's like a ninja. In fact, I think my favorite scare of the movie is like this big wide shot of the house and the cop who's standing guard. He's out front.
He steps out from the tree.
He steps out from the tree. It's like, how did that fucking hulking man hide behind that tree? But it's such a great shot.
Yeah.
Did you guys like Hobo Jesus or Hobo Michael Myers?
Hobo Jesus.
Hobo Jesus.
Now I want to see a Hobo Jesus movie.
I mean, he
directed
kind
by
of looks
Rob
like
Zombie.
Jesus, right?
Yeah. I love Hobo Myers.
Because
honestly.
I think from what I've read is they were talking about how Rob Zombie didn't use a lot of Michael Myers' mask throughout the entire movie. It was like very sparingly. And then he had that, to me, those really great kills in the farm, you know, with in the truck. So I was like, do you guys really like the look of Hobo Myers? Because I think it looked cool. I thought it looked awesome.
I do.
Hair.
I love the fact that he's not always wearing the mask. To me, that savors the experience of when we do get to see the mask. And I actually really love when you see him wearing the mask and then that kind of fur coat that he's wearing. This is random, but you know, Rob's a big fan of the Universal monster movies, and there's a movie, Son of Frankenstein, where the Frankenstein monster is wearing this grungy fur coat. And if Rob wasn't inspired by that definitely made me smile, just to see him always like having those influences on display.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much I like seeing his face bright lit close up, but this is not Nick Castle Myers. This is the same kid that we saw from the first Halloween. So when you accept that, it's not offensive. It makes sense. Again, he's becoming human again. And that's something that Michael Myers has never gone on a character arc before these movies. I know a lot of people hate that. To me, that's like the best element that Rob brought to the movies.
Absolutely.
Real quick, I want to touch on something that you guys brought up. The Hobo Myers thing is a thing of controversy, right? Like, because fans fucking hate it. I thought, even as somebody now who's still mixed on the movie, and even though I like it a bit more now than I have, Gabe, I'm going to keep naming all the terrible movies that you like. I'm just going to run down the fucking list. Freddy Got Fingered and like all these movies that you've convinced me are great. The fucking Room. I don't know if he's seen The Room. But that image of Hobo Myers they released way back in 2012 when promotional images were coming out, and they did the Entertainment Weekly thing or Entertainment Tonight promo. There was an image where it was Myers in the bathroom, Laurie's bathroom, and you got the graffiti all over, and his face is half torn off. To me, that's still one of the coolest promotional images of the character ever. I think Hobo Myers is something that makes sense, because if you release him into the wild, because he is an animal, he is like a killer shark, like my boy Buster Rhymes says. I'm pretty sure this is probably how he would end up looking like for the rest of the year if he was unattended this way. Like he's not a guy that takes showers or anything. I don't know.
No, he has to wear the overall. He has to wear the mechanic suit.
Right.
The mask has to always look perfect, even though he carries that thing around.
He has to be clean shaven.
This is a man
Yeah,
that eats
that's
dogs
the
in
other
every
thing.
interpretation. He's fucking dirty. He's
Yeah.
got the dirtiest dick in the world. Like,
And you
Dirty Dick Myers.
right.
you can say that he eats dogs, but if you actually show anything, you're going too far. I mean, where is your good taste, Rob Zombie?
No, you know, but like I have to say about like the whole Hobo Myers thing too. It's like, yeah, it's a great aesthetic, and yeah, it's kind of awesome, but it adds so much to the story that they're already telling. First of all, he's putting the mask on because during the moments that he's not killing, he's interacting with his mother, and his mother didn't like when he wore the mask. But then he puts the mask on when he does something that she doesn't like because he's going back into his deep place that he ended up in the first movie.
Right
And then on top of that, as he goes through the story and as the connection between he and Laurie are getting closer and closer, he's becoming more human and the mask becomes less and less to the point where he eventually does a kill without the mask. And then the mask is torn. So there's that duality of his character then. And so it plays into the story perfectly. And then finally he's brought back to his human self right before he's taken out. You know, he completes his arc. On top of just looking badass, I mean, it's, in my opinion, the best look that he's had in the entire franchise from the start of the movie to the end of it. It makes sense that he looks homeless. He's living on the streets. Where else is he going to go? Where is he shaving and getting his haircut? I don't know.
What would make a lot more sense, actually, and I'm sad that Rob didn't do this. If Michael was laying comatose in the shack of a hermit for the whole year.
Come on, man. Don't be talking about Halloween 5 like that. Come on, man. Come on. No, you're right though.
I forgot they already did that.
He should have been brought back by Dr. Death is what should have happened. And then the thorn symbol appears on his wrist. It would have been perfect.
If they actually ever bring back Dr. Death, that'll probably be the greatest fan service that this franchise has seen.
Oh, yeah.
What we really need is Freddy, and we need Lonnie back. I think that Lonnie from LL Cool J's Ronnie. I want the era of rappers being back in horror movies. Me and Gabe have talked about this. It's a great idea. It's a great gimmick. Let's get them back in horror movies. What happened to a bygone era? What happened to cinema when movies were shot on film? Right?
Can you imagine a Quavo in a horror movie right now?
Oh my god!
Or
or like Bad Bunny or some shit.
But we got Trey Songz in the Texas Chainsaw, and
we did.
I don't think he's a rapper. I think he's an R&B singer.
R&B. Trey Songz isn't a rapper.
We'll get
we gotta get like a Quavo or a Bad Bunny.
They should have gotten DMX to be in a horror movie.
Oh,
that is a
big missed opportunity.
Well, DMX technically is in Halloween Resurrection in a deleted scene where Michael Myers steals a car and they're playing DMX and the Rough Riders. So
I mean,
there is that
Cradle to the Grave. That's sort of.
He's not great.
Did not expect the Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 talk to end up on DMX, but I love it.
That's straight early 2000s right there.
Kindred spirits.
Gabe, anything else before we wrap up that you got
for me? I am out of questions.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I got nothing else to add. How about you two? Anything you want to touch on when it comes to H2 before we start closing up?
I mean, gosh, I could keep talking about this movie forever. I do keep talking about this movie. I've annoyed several people in my personal life by talking about this movie. It's one of those movies that I'm embarrassed how much it means to me and how much I like it. And I don't know how comfortable I am telling people that my favorite movie in this franchise is Halloween 2, but I got to go to bat for Rob because he delivered a movie that, again, it almost feels like it was made for me in that strange way, even though I hope it's more universal than that. I will say that I think it's one of my favorite moments of any slasher horror movie ever, where Dr. Loomis is doing that press conference. And he's like, "Don't you hear me? Michael Myers is dead." And just cut to Michael walking up the hill, and just DEAD, dead. And I don't know, for some reason, that's just like Rob can take a moment that should be mundane or banal, but just somehow he makes it like one of the highlights of the movie.
Right.
Cool. Connor, how about you, man?
I guess my kind of closing remarks, like this movie does mean the world to me. I'm not afraid to say that. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. My favorite horror movie of all time. My favorite in the franchise that means the most to me, besides Star Wars. Honestly, this is what I have to say. I know everybody's not going to feel the same, and I know this movie's not going to be for everybody. But I just hope that somebody else can find a movie that means as much to them as this movie means to me, because truthfully, it's a beautiful feeling, and starting out hating this movie, I didn't expect to ever end up on this. And I'm very glad that my now wife talked me out of breaking my disc in half, because I wouldn't have anything to watch it with. So, I guess, the last thing I got to say about it is, give it another shot if you're inclined to do so. Take what we said into consideration if you'd like. But at the end of the day, this movie means the world to me, and I just want to thank you two for welcoming us onto your show, which, like you said, I'm here every week. I absolutely love Flopbuster. You guys have, in my opinion, the best branding of like anybody. You guys are great there. So thank you for inviting us on to talk about this awesome movie. I appreciate that.
No, we appreciate you guys.
We're appreciative you guys coming on.
Real quick before we close off, tell us a little bit about Not That Bad. Tell everybody who's watching about Not That Bad. And the information about the podcast will also be in the description below.
Yeah, awesome, because this is kind of a great preview for the podcast. We talk about those movies that are hated by critics, audiences, that just don't have a good reputation, but we love it for whatever reason, or at the very least, we think that it deserves a defense, right? So we talk about movies of all genres. I mean, me and Connor are big horror fans, so you can expect to see a lot of those on there. But we talked with Gabe here about Battle Los Angeles, and our latest episode. I don't know if we should say, Connor, specifically. Yeah, we talked about Terminator 3. So yeah, we're just talking about any movie that just deserves its day in court because it has merits. And yeah, anything else you want to add, Connor?
We just try to have fun. I mean, we're just like Tony and Gabe here. Gabe and I met on the internet through a horror group on Facebook, and since then we've all kind of been in that circle for a long time, known of all of you for years now. But that's how we started out, and we just try to have fun talking about movies that need some defense. And if that's something that you need in your life, if you need some two idiots with bad takes, one of whom is much more intelligent than the other one, I'm talking about Gabe being much more intelligent than me, come and watch the show. We'll have a lot of fun, and we'll be definitely welcoming Flopbuster back on the show. In fact, recording our episode very soon with your third member, Victoria, who's an essential component of your guys' show. We love her so much, and very excited to talk to her about the movie that she picked, which is Perfect. And I guess the last thing I got to say is our Terminator 3 episode drops on October 6th. So be on the lookout for that.
Awesome. Sorry, my throat always gives out on these shows. I feel like I just talk quite so fast. I'm like catching up. I want to thank you guys again. Thanks for coming on. It's a great podcast, Not That Bad.
Yes, it is.
And listen to it while you're on the shitter or on the way to somewhere. That's what you do with a podcast. You want something to make you feel like you're not alone in the world, right? So those of you that have zero friends, go ahead and listen.
I mean, that's why me and Connor started that podcast, because we have zero friends.
Yep.
So
now you have two more friends. Think about it that way. So Not That Bad. There's some great movies that are covered on there. Real quick, I'm going to highlight what's coming up on Flopbuster, which is pretty much nothing. We kind of just wing it. I'll review
real quick, we convinced Andrew to give Halloween 2 another shot tonight, so we did our job.
We did, and Andrew, thank you for stopping by, man, and sticking out through the show.
Thanks, Andrew.
We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man. I hope you enjoy it.
I think this was a great episode. I think everybody's going to really like it. Every episode so far on My Favorite Horror Movie has been fantastic. We're getting so many different, unique perspectives. It's not anything cookie cutter. You got the weird sexual pleasures of Hellraiser with Leo, and he got really strange with that one. I don't know if he's coming back. He got really weird. We had Cody with The Thing, and we managed to not even talk about Halloween on that episode. So it was awesome. And then we had Destiny for Jennifer's Body, a movie that totally rules, and everybody got wrong when it came out. That movie's awesome. And we have the boys from Good Real Hunting coming on next week, and they've picked a movie as well that is unique to both of them. It's a joint pick, much like we did today, and I will announce what that is. I believe it's Thursday. I can say what it is now. It's going to be The Conjuring, the first one. But we'll go into more detail about that on Thursday. And we have a whole list of others that are joining us too, like Bloodbath and Beyond, and Chad from My Special Boy, which is a fan film that's coming out very, very soon. So if you like the show, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, comment. We are like 18 away. We're like 18 away from 500. So
Congrats on that, guys. You deserve it.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Seriously, guys. I mean, you have the good taste to have us on. So, I mean, you guys are really, you're on your way.
I know. We're trying to get Weinstein on next. We'll see.
Oh man.
All right.
Man, Harvey.
Is it too late to cancel this?
Yeah, let's.
I just canceled myself right now.
Erase this from the record. Thank you. You'll be hearing from my attorney.
You guys need a third on Not That Bad.
I mean, Harvey Weinstein. That's fine. Thank you to everybody that's just been watching the show, catching up with us, the reviews, reactions, all those things. So, tune in Thursday for the live show, the news rundown. There's a ton to talk about, from this Deadpool 3 stuff to Halloween, the new trailer. So we're gonna jump into all of that, as well as the box office breakdown. And yeah, if you like this episode, click on the channel to see more, and we will see you guys next time. I'm struggling to find the outro, but here it is. Have a great night, everybody.